What if there was a way for you to get the tools, the education, and even the building plans that you need to build your ideal tiny house at a fraction of the cost? I'm Ethan Waldman, and I'm really glad you're here because today is your lucky day. Well, this week is your lucky week because the 2022 Tiny House Bundle is here. It contains nearly $1,700 worth of tiny house plans, books, and courses at a 97% discount, so just $49 until Friday at noon Eastern. I'm talking about this Friday, April 9th at noon Eastern. Head over to thetinyhouse.net/bundle to learn more about the sale. You're not going to want to miss this one. Again, that's thetinyhouse.net/bundle. If you've followed me in years past, you know that the Tiny House Bundle is an incredible value, and this year is no different. $1,699 worth of tiny house plans, books, and courses for just $49. Head over to thetinyhouse.net/bundle, and I can't wait to share this year's bundle with you.
Was looking at, container homes. Everyone knows it's horrible to build out of containers. I then looked also like the wood, but wood's such low quality, there's no way to quickly frame out a building. Looking around the world, came across this product in Korea.
Welcome to the Tiny House Lifestyle Podcast, the show where you learn how to plan, build, and live the tiny lifestyle. I'm your host, Ethan Waldman, and this is episode 208 with Harrison Langley. It's not often that I get to introduce you to new building technologies, but today is just one of those days. My guest, Harrison Langley, is the founder of the company Boxvana, a composite structural insulated panel manufacturer and modular builder. Their technology is called LitePan, and it's actually a composite SIP that replaces the wood with a composite material and is up to 4 times lighter than a conventional wood SIP. The applications for tiny homes on wheels are obvious, and also just the thermal properties of these panels along with the weight make them an incredible new technology. I was really excited to get Harrison Langley on the show, and I'm excited for you to learn all about LitePan and these new SIPs. I hope you stick around. But before we get started, did you know that I personally send Tiny House newsletter every week on Tuesdays? It's called Tiny Tuesdays, and it's a weekly email with tiny house news, interviews, photos, and resources. It's free to subscribe, and I even share sneak peeks of things that are coming up, ask for feedback about upcoming podcast guests, and more. It's really the best place to keep a pulse on what I'm doing in the tiny house space and also stay informed of what's going on in the tiny house movement. To sign up, go to thetinyhouse.net/newsletter. where you can sign up for the Tiny Tuesdays newsletter. And of course, you can unsubscribe at any time. I will never send you spam, and if you ever don't want to receive emails, it's easy to unsubscribe. So again, that's thetinyhouse.net/newsletter. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy next week's Tiny Tuesdays newsletter. All right, I am here with Harrison Langley. Harrison is the founder and CEO of Boxvana, a composite structural insulated panel manufacturer and modular builder. Harrison Langley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ethan. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So I guess just to start off, super basic, what is a composite structural insulated panel, and how is that different from, say, a SIP that is made of OSB and closed cell foam?
So there's a lot of different SIPs out there. This is the one we make, LitePan.
Okay.
What's different is we use a composite skin, which is super thin compared to metal or wooden skin, which is common in the SIP industry. So with this, we get a lot of extra strength. So this panel, even though it's incredibly lightweight, it's comparable to a reinforced concrete wall.
Wow.
And we're able to make these panels in 9 by 40 foot dimensions. And it only weighs, a couple 100 pounds, like 350, 400 pounds so that size, that mega panel, there's really no other panel as large as ours and can do the same span. So commercial, residential roofs, we use it for everything.
Mega panel. I like that. No, that's really exciting because, as I'm sure you're aware, tiny house folks who are building on a trailer are especially looking for ways to save on weight. And as tiny houses are getting bigger up into the 30 to 40 foot range, we are winding up with houses that weigh, 13, 15, even 20,000 pounds. What do you estimate is the weight savings of the LitePan versus your traditional OSB SIP?
Oh, it's probably 4 times lighter. Like a similar size wood panel would be like 4,000 pounds. More like it's incredibly light comparatively. And since we can do it in such big size, even if tiny homes get 12 by 34, the largest PMRV out there.
Yep.
Under 400 square feet, you can have one wall as one panel.
Yep. Wow.
So your framing goes down to a couple hours from a couple weeks.
Fantastic. So there's a pretty cool time lapse on Boxvana.com that I'll link to, or I'll try to even embed that in the show notes page, just showing kind of the walls going up. And it just looks like the rough openings for the windows are just kind of pre-cut right into those walls.
Yeah, so we have a CNC machine that can do a 90 by 40 foot panel, one of the biggest CNC machines around. So whenever we do a custom build or for another tiny home manufacturer, we just need their drawings. We do a shop drawing for our panel layout and cut them out ready to go. Exact openings, usually 90% cut when we ship them to someone else.
Got it. So in terms of the skin, do people choose to kind of use that as their interior finished wall and their exterior siding, or do you need to then kind of protect that?
They can. We definitely have people who just leave it as is and paint it. It has a 20-year UV shield. It's a double water barrier. So it's definitely a good exterior. But a coat of silicone or any facade really helps keep the UV out even longer than 20 years than the current protection.
So if you were going to say you wanted to make your tiny home look more rustic and you wanted to put up like shiplap, like wooden siding, can you nail right into it, or can you only glue to it, or
screw and glue?
Screw and glue.
Yeah, rivets work really well too, but a lot of people don't have experience with rivets.
I have to say I don't have any experience with rivets either.
No.
And then what types of insulation? I'm assuming you can do different kinds of foams.
Yeah. So we use a Neopor BASF product. Really like that's R5 per inch. So our standard walls are 4 inches or R20, and our standard roof being 6 inch R30. That's a complete envelope.
Yep.
Floor is R20 as well. So try to wrap the whole thing. So no thermal bridging.
Yep. And can people, say, I'm in Vermont, for example, say I wanted that 6 inch construction all around. Is that possible?
Yeah, we go up to 10 inch R50.
Wow.
For northern states, Arctic.
Okay. And in terms of the framing that is required, is there any framing that goes into the SIP?
Yeah, for a tiny home, the SIP is your frame. That's your structure.
Yep.
It can definitely do those 12-foot, 10-foot spans. No real needed support.
Yeah. So are you manufacturing? So Boxvana seems like it's the house building arm. Is it a different company that does the LitePan, or are you kind of all in one?
It's under one umbrella. We also do our own trailers, Rhino trailers.
Okay.
Do our own furnishings.
Oh, nice.
Annabelle Furnishings. So it's a lot of different companies mixed up in there.
Yeah. How did you get into this?
Just have a real estate background, construction background.
Okay.
Was looking at, container homes like 5-6 years ago, but everyone knows it's horrible to build out of containers. Too much modification, single use. Containers aren't the best, and they're very narrow.
Yep.
I then looked also like the wood, but wood's such low quality. There's no way to quickly frame out a building with a standard material. Then Katera found that out the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started looking at SIPs, or really composites. I went with a local group, Strongwell, out of Virginia, to build my first tiny home, but very expensive. And looking around the world, came across this product in Korea, licensed it for the US, started manufacturing it from there.
Wow.
Way to spread the word, started making tiny homes, or PMRVs and RVs.
What's a PMRV?
A park model recreational vehicle.
Okay.
It's the category most of our homes fall under.
Got it.
So they can be steel frame permanently attached to a foundation.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And the steel frame, is that just the base of it, or is there some steel framing that goes in?
Yeah, okay. Or it's the trailer.
Okay. So, how much does I see on your website there's the Canary that looks like a 14-foot tiny home?
20 by 8.
Oh, 20.
Yeah.
Okay, 20 by
24 by 8.
And that weighs just 5,500 pounds.
Yeah, and that's with a lot of wood in it. You can make it 4,000 pounds pretty easily.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, that's getting you back into towable with a pickup truck that is more commonly owned, let's say.
This is more like a forever RV, so it's towable it's under that 5,500 pound limit, really that 7,000 pound limit.
Mm-hmm.
Almost anything can tow it.
Yep. Now is, on the site, it says, starting at 65,000. Would 65,000 get you like a fully completed model with like, hot water and utilities and a kitchen and all that?
Yeah. Bathroom, finished unit, baseline.
Very nice.
No wood. So it'd be under 5,000 pounds.
Impressive. How, and you mentioned that you're doing some work for other tiny home manufacturers?
Just shells.
Okay. Right. So other people are kind of finishing out the shell.
Yeah. We sell the panels to anyone who wants them, right?
Right. And has that caught on? Have you been getting like individual tiny house?
It took off more like in grow rooms.
Okay.
So interesting. So, like large 20,000 square foot spaces, 9,000 square foot spaces, just wrapping the interior of pre-existing buildings.
Okay. And just to give it incredible thermal.
Yeah. Being able to control an environment in a room. Medical space. They built a 74-room hospital and a 32-room hospital using these panels, just because they can control having a negative or positive pressure, meaning no air's going in, no new air cycling in from the outside, or keeping inside air inside.
Got it. So in terms of the air sealing that goes into it, are the panels, I'm guessing there's some kind of attachment system that holds the panels together, and then are they taped together?
Glued and screwed with angle steel in the corners, basically.
Okay.
Seals them up nice and tight.
Very cool. And how long has Boxvana been building these homes?
I guess we've been around almost 4 years this summer.
Okay. And do you have, I'm guessing you've got people living in these homes all over the country.
All over the country, yeah. a lot of Airbnbs.
Yep. Well, that's certainly one way that people are using tiny houses. And again, like just with the weight factor here, just makes moving them so much easier.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially like the more getaway model. I don't know if you've seen those getaway houses, but it's basically our Canary with a slight modification.
Ah, okay. That's well, I won't tell anybody, although they'll hear this when the podcast comes out.
Yeah, no, just add a big window in the front. It's easy.
Yeah. So, and that's a good point with the SIP. You can put a wall of glass in a lot easier than if you were framing that wall.
Yeah, especially if you know the measurements beforehand, because we're going to see it out precisely.
Certainly. But, no header required.
Right. No header required.
So tell me about the trailers. why did you go the route of kind of building your own trailers rather than,
Because you can't really buy them, can you? It's really hard. The big manufacturers like Clayton have contracts with the larger trailer groups. So if you really want a 11.8 by 34 foot trailer, Clayton has them all. So
yeah,
we make those larger size, which is like the 400 square foot, and then the 8 by 24s. We make those as well. It's all in house right now, but we can make a trailer a day just that way.
Nice. So are the trailers, could they be used by anyone building a tiny house, or are they specific?
Oh, anyone. Yeah. We sell them to other tiny home manufacturers for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not like necessarily specific to working with SIPs even.
No. Yeah. Just for tiny homes in general.
Nice.
And PMRVs.
Nice. I apologize in advance for the kind of technical question, but this is one that I always like to just hear how different manufacturers and builders get around this, which is even in a SIPs tiny home, when you're building on a trailer, there's oftentimes can be a problem area where the base of the wall meets the trailer. If that's not also coming down and touching the insulated floor, sometimes people will build out onto the flange of their trailer, and then they end up with this thermal short circuit, a place where moisture can collect. How do your builds work in terms of, does the SIP sit on top of the trailer? Does it sit within the trailer? And how do you deal with that cold spot there?
Yeah, so the entire trailer is covered with the SIP, and I think we put a 1 foot overhang on all the edges.
Okay.
Where it isn't, we can do up to a 4 foot overhang with our panels. And then the walls are connected right to that SIP. So
wow. So that SIP is strong enough to just cantilever out over the trailer and just take the full weight of the building on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Up to 4 feet, really.
Sweet.
We're only doing a foot, 6 inches.
4 feet's a lot.
Yeah. Good. Some good, no columns in the front of your house, and you get a good porch for that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I know that, some SIPs manufacturers will kind of machine in like a chase for wiring and electrical. How do you handle that in the for the composite?
We can do that, but usually we cover the inside with furring strips to run the electrical and the furring strips, and then drywall on top of it.
Okay, so the drywall works okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know that early on in the tiny house movement, there was kind of a allergy to drywall in the sense that there was concern that it would crack when you move the structure, and also just that it's not the lightest material out there. So a lot of tiny houses are covered in wood, and it seems like these homes don't move in the sense that the drywall doesn't.
Yeah,
doesn't
the drywall
crack.
doesn't crack. Yeah, we haven't had a problem with it transporting from our factory anywhere quite yet.
Nice. What's the turnaround time? If I order a canary from you today, when am I going to get it?
3 to 4 months.
3-4 months. Got it. And these are, as you mentioned, I think before we started rolling, these are built in a factory.
Yeah, built in a factory, 50,000 square feet, ready to pump them out.
Sweet. Well, I mean, it's really exciting. I love seeing new building technologies being applied, and I think that tiny houses in a way are a great kind of entry for experimental, new, efficient building technologies, because the houses aren't that big. Maybe less can go wrong. And, then us tiny house dwellers get to experience some, amazing thermal characteristics, amazing, just tightness and all those things.
Oh, yeah. Takes it to a whole nother level when you're not dealing with wood anymore. You're dealing with one panel that's one wall.
Yeah.
You can definitely feel more off grid. Put 14 solar panels on a battery pack, composting toilet, get rid of your black water, and good to go, right?
Yeah, totally. So we do have a couple of Tiny House Engage members are kind of listening in to the live stream, and one question's coming in, and I don't know that we'll do it here on the live call, but I would love to include these on the show notes page. Do you have any pictures or diagrams or kind of white paper type things that we can, offer to our listeners to check out and see?
For sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So we'll, to Bill who's listening, we'll do that on the show notes. We'll include some pictures and diagrams. I don't want to mess with a screen share during the podcast interview.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll send over a packet of information, and then our website's pretty intuitive.
Cool. How are the houses ventilated?
Usually we put an ERV in.
Okay.
Little box keeps the air circulating.
Yeah.
Unstagnant.
Yeah, because I would imagine that in a house this tight, it's important to have that air exchange.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
That instances where the air inside grew real cold, it stayed cold, and it heat up during the day, and you have that negative pressure keeping the door closed.
Yeah. Oh wow. You hear a hiss when you open the door.
Yeah, right.
The air escaping. Very sci-fi. So I'm just looking at some of the features and kind of upgrades that you can offer. That a radiant heated floor is an option. Do you do that with electric? And is there tile or some thermal mass that you go with?
Yeah, it's all electric. It's a really thin material called Langley heat out of Germany that we use.
Okay.
And we just apply it to the floor, right on top, right underneath the vinyl or the tongue and groove flooring. Works great.
Nice. So for a customer who might be interested in a house that they are going to finish themselves, like a shell, do you ship it flat, or do you only sell it kind of as a completed shell?
No, we'll ship flat panels all the time.
Okay, so someone could essentially order their house and have it shipped out on their trailer, and then they kind of put it together.
Yeah.
They could if they wanted to.
We haven't had anyone buy a trailer and get panels shipped to them yet, but we can do it.
Yeah, it would strike me that it would be easier to have the factory setting be where the walls are stood up and attached and secured. Just because I would imagine that to do that yourself, you either need a team of people or you need
three or four guys,
a crane. What do you need?
Yeah, 3 or 4 guys, and the knowledge of at least a Girl Scout troop.
Yeah, I was going to say some guys or gals or whoever to help you lift up the walls and put them into place.
We use a crane because we have one, but crane isn't needed.
Yeah. BYOC, bring your own crane.
There you go.
So in terms of small houses, I think the benefit is clear from a weight perspective. What's, I see on this website, there are some larger home models out there. How do you, differentiate yourself and compete with, regular SIPs, for example, when you're looking at a 1,400 square foot house where the weight is less of a concern?
Yeah, it's all about the thermal bridging and the overall maintenance of the home. I mean, what's just a lower quality product, and with the modular, we're manufacturer completing directly with Clayton Homes, which they do 50,000 homes a year. I mean, they're low quality homes. You can see them curvy going down the road, but just someone who wants less maintenance and a better overall quality.
Yeah. So the idea here is that somebody could design a home and then just order the whole kit from you.
Yeah. Comes in 2 pieces. It's all on site. You just need a GC, a contractor, pull the permits, hook up the mechanical.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty cool. I think that, there's a certain romance with the idea of like working with wood and like toiling and kind of framing up your house and standing up the walls and sheathing them and insulating them and all that. And, it's almost a sacred cow, but this is kind of a way around that.
Yeah.
To save a lot of time.
Time and money, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So how does that pencil out in terms of, for example, the canary shell versus hiring a contractor to basically build you that same shell, stick framed and insulated with spray foam?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like a shell with a trailer is like 24, 30,000 finished.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that trailer? I don't know how much it would be out of wood.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've heard that with traditional SIPs, it's about the same, but the difference is that, with the SIP, you're putting a lot more money into the materials, whereas with the contractors and the framers, you're putting a lot more of the money into the labor and less into the materials.
Right. Yeah. A lot more money into labor.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where 60, 70% of your costs that we save you. That's where the savings is.
Yeah.
But like our 4-inch panels is like $10 a square foot. That's where it usually starts at.
Okay. Do you have any kind of, for lack of a better word, demo models just like ready to ship, ready to go?
Yeah, I have 4 models I'm trying to sell right now.
All right.
You can look at our Facebook or our YouTube page. We have a Henderson, a 10 by 30 for $50,000.
Uh-huh.
We have a Monaco, no appliances for $75,000. It's ready to go. An off-grid Halifax with, I think, 12 solar panels, Generac battery, $99,000. And then a LG model, which is a 35 by 9 that's completely off grid as well and bulletproof. So yeah, we have some ready to go units.
That's awesome. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Well, man, you're just like, a wealth of information, just firing it off. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about, about these homes or this construction technique that you're interested in learning more about, or that you're interested in telling us about?
No, it's check out our website, check out our YouTube videos. I'll send you more information to post, to share out, and
yep,
I'm glad to be on.
Awesome. Well, Harrison Langley, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. This was, I learned a lot.
All right. Thanks, Ethan. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much to Harrison Langley for being a guest on the show today. You can find the show notes, including a complete transcript of this episode, photos of some of my favorite Boxvana models, and some YouTube videos that Harrison mentioned in the interview at thetinyhouse.net/208. Again, that's thetinyhouse.net/208. Well, that's all for this week. I'm your host, Ethan Waldman, and I'll be back next week with another episode of the Tiny House Lifestyle Podcast. If you've listened this far, you must really be a tiny house fan. And so I'm really excited to tell you about the 2022 Tiny House Bundle. It contains 33 tiny house plans, books, and courses from 18 expert creators, and it is available at just a fraction of the price, $49 for just 5 days. Again, these products alone would cost you nearly $1,700 to buy, and you can get them all for the low price of $49 for the next 5 days. Head over to thetinyhouse.net/bundle before April 9th at noon Eastern to pick up your copy of the Tiny House Bundle. Again, that's thetinyhouse.net/bundle. I hope you enjoy it.